Welcome, everyone, to our Arts Academy podcast. We were trying to put something a little bit special for you guys today. We got hit with a little bit of technical difficulties, and Mr. Ricciardi is not able to be with us today.
I'll call you back as soon as I get
back. And you can see we have
okay,
we have our current principal.
No, about an hour.
Who's on the phone. We have our current principal, Dr. Jim Morello, who's able to come and speak to you guys today, which is great. We have our new principal for next year, Ms. Kathy Young, who's able to join us on this podcast as well. So thank you to both for coming on, and let's get started. Okay. So let's start with you, Dr. Jim Morello, so you can sort of jump into a little bit about what's going to go on at the end of this year with graduation, with prom, and with closing out our school year for this year.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Gongora. And again, welcome to all of you that are on the podcast. Right now, we're planning for a number of things for the end of the year. Obviously, the seniors are very concerned about graduation. They're very concerned about the end-of-year celebration that we're planning for them, and also how we're going to obviously distribute caps and gowns, diplomas, and everything else that goes along with senior end-of-the-year events. I can tell you the last day of school for all students is June 18th. Graduation will be June 21st. And at this point, we're planning to have one graduation beginning probably around 10 o'clock in the morning with all of the students and their guests at the same time. So you will be able to see all of your classmates, have family members there with you. Again, limited by CDC and the state of New Jersey guidelines. That's the way it looks right now. If anything changes, obviously, then we'll have to change our way of having the graduation. I'm hoping that the governor increases capacities so we can have one graduation with all of the students and their families with them. The prom is really an end-of-year celebration. It will consist of activities on June 3rd, beginning at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, finishing around 9 o'clock in the evening. It will be, for lack of a better word, a semi-formal, where the students will meet inside the building in the cafeteria, in the other dining area we have, and they will be served a buffet luncheon, and we will go through what we would typically do at a prom, and then maybe a little bit more. We will have a DJ. We will have a photo booth. We will identify any student awards that we will be giving out. And I believe, and Ms. Young could correct me if I'm wrong with this, we were going back and forth. We are considering having the announcement, the formal announcement, if you will, of the who's who. That will appear in the yearbook.
Okay. Mr. Cleese wanted to know if you need chaperones for this party.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I know we sent something out, a survey. We did get a number of chaperones for both the day activities as well as the evening activities. Some apply to do both activities. Some just apply to do one or the other. But yes, any chaperones we can have, the better it would be.
Okay. I think Mr. Ricciardi is actually with us again. If he can hear us, maybe?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. The restart worked.
There's one thing that I did not mention. The distribution of caps and gowns. Seniors, if they are hybrid seniors, will be in class the 16th and 17th of June. That's when we're planning to give out caps, gowns, and any other material that needs to be given out. Completion certificates, yearbooks if they were ordered, and any other goodies that we may be giving out to the seniors. That would be held during regular class time between 8:30 and 1:30. For seniors who are not hybrid, for seniors who are virtual, they would be able to come in alphabetically on the 16th and 17th from 1:30 to 3. Figure a quarter to 2. That would give the buses some time to leave the parking lot. So from 1:45 to 3 o'clock is when the seniors that are attending classes virtually could come in and pick up their caps and gowns. And more information will go out as we get closer.
Right. Yeah. As we get closer, I'm sure we'll announce it. Email in the Google Classroom and throughout the building. So pay attention to those sort of things for the seniors to make sure you don't miss anything that you're supposed to be doing. Anything else for end of the year? I think that covers most of the things. I believe for the calendar for everybody who's not a senior is the last day of classes was June 18th. But Dr. G, I believe the marking period would end earlier that week, correct?
The marking period would probably end a week prior to that, and grades would be due the Monday, which would be the 14th.
Right. So definitely keep that in mind as we get closer to the end of the year, that the last day of school for graduation is always, there's always a little bit of time in there for the marking period to end and for all your classes to finish up. So make sure you're passing everything.
Yeah, just a point of information for the students, please. If you have any work that's due or any assignments that your teachers give out, please have them in prior to the 17th of June. I'm sorry, prior to the 11th of June. Because once the grades are run on that Monday evening, that's going to be the last of it. Because then the guidance counselors have to review the grades to make sure they're accurate. And obviously, if you're a senior, you don't want to have any mistakes in your transcripts, which will be going out to colleges very soon after that. So it's very important that you get the work in on time, please.
Yeah, well, we'll be. I'm sure we'll be reminding you that as it gets closer and closer. Okay, we can jump into our next topic, which is our summer school. So, our summer course offerings. So, Mr. Ricciardi, you want to take that one, or?
Well, this was a question also from the students on the podcast form. So I'll send this to Dr. G and Ms. Young as they're on here. But what math courses, summer math courses are we running? And then what other options are there going to be, a la or AKA Fun Fit, and anything else that we have planned at this point? That was a question that came in on the podcast form.
Okay, right now, we're planning to run geometry, Algebra 2, and pre-calc over the summer. Depending upon how many students apply, will dictate how many sections we run. In the past, we've run one geometry, 2 Algebra 2s, I believe. Mr. Gongora, correct me if I'm wrong, and one pre-calc. This year, if there is a need, I would be willing to run an additional Algebra 2 course because there was no Algebra 2 course for sophomores during the school year. So the opportunity is there if you qualify to take in Algebra 2. So we may have to open up 3 Algebra 2 sections this summer. We'll
Dr.
also-
G, can
yes.
you clarify that this is either enrichment or recovery?
This is for enrichment / advancement. So if you take Algebra 2 in the summer, in the fall, in September when you come back, you will be taking pre-calc. If you take pre-calc over the summer, you will be taking calc when you come back in September. So this is definitely for enrichment or advancement, however you want to look at it, and you will receive the amount of credit you would normally receive had you taken the course from September to June. So it will be 5 credits per course. There will be fun fit. So there will be a fun fit program. We are at school level, we are not responsible for putting the program together. That comes from central office. They have a fun fit committee there. Our teachers will be involved with it. Once the teachers get approved, they will come up with the program itself. But the only thing I can tell you is that there will be a fun fit program. As in years past, there will be transportation. So if you're taking any of these courses or fun fit, there will be transportation to the building and home.
Dr. G, another question, and this may even go to Ms. Young, but another question that came in on the Google form was about LEAP courses next year. Usually what the teachers will do is when we first get back into the building in September, they'll fill out their LEAP form and propose courses. That will then go to the principal, and then they'll make a decision what courses will run. Is that process going to remain the same? And I guess that's more for Ms. Young for next year, but.
Dr. Gemmerl and I haven't really discussed that. I believe it will be based on the safety precautions that hopefully will be opened up at that time. So I think that we would have to discuss that at a later date. Dr. G, is there anything you want to say about that?
No, you've said it all, really. It depends on CDC protocols, it depends on state protocols, and we never posted for LEAP classes in September until the first day of school. So we do have time for that. As for extracurricular activities, again, it's something that Ms. Young and I will propose. Whether or not we can offer those activities in September, we're not sure. And again, it's all depending on the protocols and where we stand with the virus.
Do students still have the option to opt in for a hybrid or opt out to virtual at this point?
That seems to be a sticking point. The deadline for opting into hybrid was April 2nd. I extended that deadline twice, and we're still getting requests to opt into hybrid. I need to wait at least 2 weeks, so I'm looking at sometime around the first week in May to determine whether or not we could bring in any additional students, hybrid.
Okay, so I guess
I just want to add, Mr. Ricciardi, if
Yep, go
they
ahead.
are coming in person and they choose to go back to virtual, they can without restriction. The restriction will be they can't come back. We won't have an issue with them leaving, but once they leave after hybrid, they won't be allowed to come back in.
Okay. And another thing just to address with students, when they do come in, you're going to take your bus. When you walk into the building, you're going to go through your protocols. You're either going to go to the gym or you're going to go to breakfast. If you're not eating breakfast, you will be in the gym. And then Mr. Ra has been dismissing students from the gym to class. And I mean, in my opinion, it's worked very smooth so far. In terms of maths, make sure when you're eating breakfast, when you're done, some people are hanging around the tables, just, chatting with their friends. Just make sure you put your mask back on, even if you're going to wait a few minutes and your distance, but you're sitting with a friend that you were eating breakfast with. once you're done eating, just throw that mask back on. It's good habit to get into. And then Dr. G and Ms. Young, do you just want to talk about dress code real quick? That was something else that I had jotted down.
Well,
Yes, before we go to dress
Go ahead.
code, I think Dr. G was probably going to say the same thing.
yeah.
We are even being extra precaution with the place of pending time in the morning for breakfast. So the freshman and junior will be escorted to the gym. I'm sorry, right, the gym. And then the sophomores and seniors will be going to the theater. Or because the senior group is a smaller group and the sophomore group. So they will be going, I'm sorry, say the way around. They'll be going to the gym. It's on the board, and the freshmen and juniors will be staying so that we have them split even more.
Okay.
So we're using the theater, we're using the gym, and we're using the CAF. If they're not eating, we ask that they stay in their designated gym or theater section.
Okay, good. So that's a little different than our first week. So that's good that we're doing that.
And dress
really
code?
it. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry, dress code, yes.
Did you want to address that, Dr. G, or?
No, you could address the dress code.
We are always looking to encourage creativity in your style, and we aren't trying to stifle your style at all. However, there is some protocol in the dress code, and we're just asking for students, you've signed for it in the beginning of the school year that you would abide to the dress code. Belly shirts are not permitted. Your shorts and skirts need to be at an appropriate length above the knee. Otherwise, just dress appropriately. If you're not, so now instead of a belly shirt, they're tying it up in the back, so the back is open. So don't challenge that so much. It's really just a minor thing that really doesn't need to be an issue for us. It's embarrassing for us to approach you, and it's really uncomfortable for you to be receiving our direction regards to that. So just make it easy for everybody, including yourself, that you just dress appropriately for school.
Yeah, and Tom, that's really all I have from the Google form. Other stuff is more about courses, registration, things like that.
Ms. Alvarez, did you want to say something about dress code?
No, I just had a quick question about clubs. Are we running clubs if it doesn't require meeting? Mike and I have a group of kids. Well, he actually got approached by a student who wants to open a club just to share scholarship information with other students.
Yeah, I got approached last week about 2 different clubs. One about scholarships. Some of the students want to help each other with scholarships. I think these can be done virtually, so we just wondered if we can have virtual clubs. If, I guess by the time September rolls around, what the protocols and procedures would be.
Yeah, we've had some clubs that met virtually this year, and it's very difficult to monitor the clubs that are being held virtually, as opposed to a club that's being held weekly or every other week in school. So I don't have an issue with virtual clubs as long as there can be some accountability and something that's actually produced during that club time. And again, the instructors who are advisors to the club have to understand that the club has to run from 3 o'clock on after their contractual hours. So it's a combination. Go ahead.
Right. The clubs also have to be overseen by an adult in the school. Typically, it's a teacher or a supervisor that would be overseeing the clubs. I think it's great that students are already interested in getting scholarships, but we just need to make sure that they're applying to a legitimate scholarship. So I'm all for that. I think it's great that they want to help each other. Those peer leaders that they're becoming and the future leaders of America is awesome that they're willing to do something like that as long as they're legitimate. So we would need to have the guidance counselors on board. So if that's a club that performing arts guidance counselors would be willing to undertake, would you also be willing to take other students from other academies so that it could be more of a school-wide club rather than just a performing arts club?
Yeah.
Definitely. I think they need about 15 signatures within the student body to actually, have it presented.
And I was going to say,
have them write the proposal, get your names posted on that proposal, and we'll absolutely look it over. What were you going to say, Ms.
I was
Alvarez?
going to say we can also include maybe not just scholarship preparation, but maybe essay writing as well within the scholarship, because a lot of the scholarships require essay writing. So we can maybe connect the two, preparing them for college essay writing and scholarship opportunities.
Just as a point of information, I posted for a summer program for essay writing for college. I believe that's the title we called it. It's a non-credit bearing class, club, whatever you want to call it. But it would be something that some of the seniors or juniors rather would be interested in taking. That's available this summer. If it proves successful, I think that's something that we could carry over into the fall.
That would be great.
And any club, just so you know, and I know the other advisors know, the class advisors know, clubs, the proposal has to be obviously made to the principal. It also has to be sent to student council. The student council will review the club, make sure we don't have a duplicate type of club, and then say, yes, this is a club that's really worthwhile having, and then forward that recommendation to either Ms. Young or myself.
Okay. It's good to know.
All right, so I think that's I guess that's everything from the form that got sent in from the parents. That was the first two things from our agenda. I guess, Mr. Ricciardi, you want to take a little quick course registration?
Yeah, and I don't want to keep Dr. G and Ms. Young for the entire time because most of the other stuff is about registration. But if we just skip down to incoming freshman paperwork, Dr. G, the photo, my school books, and any kind of summer orientation. Some people asked if the photo is absolutely necessary. My answer to them was yes, it is necessary because that's going to be used for their ID. The ID is important because my school bucks will connect to the ID. So that's also important. And then is there any other summer orientation that's being planned for the students?
We're planning, and we spoke about it briefly. We're planning to run something over the summer. Again, it depends upon how many people are allowed in the building during the summer, protocol-wise, obviously. But we're planning to have an orientation for, first of all, incoming freshmen and their parents in July, and then possibly in August, have a session, a day or two, for incoming freshmen with peer leaders where they could select any classes they may need to select. Again, look through the building and have team building exercises while they're in the building. And then we can take any photos that we may need, get them set up with their technology IDs and their email, their technology accounts, get them involved with Google. So on day one, they're not getting bombarded with all this information.
Okay, so that answers, again, that all came in from parents and students over the last 2 weeks once we sent out the podcast. So that's it. Ton, I guess we can go right into that registration.
Okay.
And Dr. G and Ms. Young, I think that's all we have for questions for you guys. So if there's anything else you want to say to the students, we can handle the rest in terms of registration. If you guys wanted to sign off, or obviously you're welcome to stay.
I'd like to say one thing, and then I'll let Dr. G end our portion of it. I would just like to thank all of you, teachers, administrators, Mr. Ricciardi, counselors, students especially, for a great first week back to High Tech High School. Everybody was respectful. They followed the rules for the most part. And we will continue to learn what we have to learn and do what we have to do to keep everybody safe and to keep it productive learning and make learning fun to the best of our ability. So I want to just thank everybody for their cooperation this week.
Just a couple comments, not too much fun. A little bit of fun's okay, but not too much. Again, to reiterate what Ms. Young said, thank you to the students, to the parents, obviously, for being patient with us, for the staff for all that they did. We're learning as we go along. We will have bumps in the road, so to speak, but just know we're reacting to those little glitches to make sure we maintain a safe, secure, and welcoming environment for all the students. So again, Mr. Ricciardi, thank you very much. Ms. Alvarez, Mr. Buscio, Mr. Gongora, thank you for showing me how to put my camera on. And I think I'm done. Thank you.
No,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you both very
Thank
much
you.
for coming on. It's really great to have our administration here so that way that they can answer all the questions and we know exactly what's going on. So thank you both.
Okay, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Enjoy the weekend.
Okay, you too.
You
Thank
too.
you. Bye-bye.
All right, so Tone, if we go back to that registration, there's a couple things to address and a couple things. One thing specifically that's still an open-ended question, but it did come in again on the Google form, and that's about world history. So if we talk about course registration for PA by grade, PA freshmen will not be taking world history. PA sophomores did not take world history this past year. So the one course that they would not be eligible to take their senior year would be U.S. History AP. We're going to have another conversation this week, myself with the administration, Ms. Alvarez and Mr. Buscio, about options. Maybe Ms. Alvarez can look into some of the two options that we may be able to provide for students. But as of right now, usually with Dr. G, the stance that he's taken when it comes to core courses is that we want you to take all the core courses in the building. All right. So other than that, we'll work on some options about opening, a world history or US 1 or US 2 over the summer or after school. Probably more than likely it would be over the summer, but I will work on that.
Yeah, I know we've Mr. Regan has taught some history classes over the summer in the past, so maybe we can get something going with him.
Yeah. The only issue that we have to kind of smooth out is usually the company line has been, if you're taking a core course, you have to take it in the building. So that would be the one, change from the norm. A couple other, in terms of finalized courses, when a course is going to be finalized, the registration date ends. Your course registration ends on April 21st. 2026. That would be on Monday. So after Monday, every student in the Arts Academy will meet with Mr. Buscio or Ms. Alvarez to go over those requests. Some students I know, because I'm looking at it. I don't know if Ms. Alvarez and Mr. Buscio took a look at, but some students registered or tried to register for like 80 credits, and you can only take 40. So again, we have to limit those registration requests. Number one. Number two, we're going to send out a Google form. I think Mr. Rob may have sent it already. If he didn't, he'll be sending it shortly, which basically allows you to choose alternatives to the courses that you want. So you have your set 40, and then if something doesn't work, once we play around with the schedule and try to massage classes so that you guys can get into as many classes as you want, there will be a secondary form where myself, Mr. Buscio, and Ms. Alvarez know what classes you want as backups, so we can try to fit those in. So that's in terms of when a course is finalized. Your requests are finalized on Monday. You can then meet with your guidance counselor to finalize not only your request, but also the order of classes in which you want. And then the final schedule, we're trying to get out by June. Okay. Again, that's not a promise. It's just, that's what we're attempting to do. Okay. It's been said for a long time that we're trying to get the schedule done by June. It's just, it's a big thing with a lot of moving pieces. So it's difficult to do that.
And students change their mind, right? Students change their mind all the time. So, try to decide what it is you really want, and commit to those things, so that way your schedule is what you want when we start school next year.
So here's something that came up with the MVA freshmen. Obviously, they are taking their quarter 4 class now, a week before the portal closes, so they might actually want to take that class as a major. So what I was telling some of the freshmen was, if you're in that predicament where you're taking the Q4 class and you want it next year and the portal closes, just let whoever your counselor is know, and then we can change that for you. But we're also going to go into the portal and find out which students didn't pick specific classes. Like if you're a rising sophomore and you didn't pick your 2 majors in MVA, then we're going to contact you to, ask you why you didn't do it and which ones do you want. So we're going to be looking at everybody's choices and then going through it that way. And if we need to contact you, we'll send an email. So please check your email daily.
And one more thing, if there's classes that you just don't know about or you're concerned you don't have enough information, you can reach out to us and we can give you more of an explanation. And if you are in a position where you see that you haven't taken any APs and you're lacking, we can also offer other options like the option 2, HCCC classes. And there's also the option of internships. So sometimes having an internship looks better than having APs that don't really have anything to do with your major. So just consider those options as well.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we can change, specifically going back to what Mr. Buscio said about the sophomore major, we can change that even after Monday. So if you make, and that's a good reason to make a change, right? If you just haven't been exposed to the course, now you're getting exposed to it and you make that determination, just reach out to your guidance counselor or myself, because I fielded that question also, so that's fine. And then choosing a major, is it too late? I don't remember exactly who asked this question on the Google form.
It was actually, that was sounds like one of Shep's kids, piano performing arts. So they would be in their major. They wouldn't choose a separate major. They would be in their major for their whole, their whole.
Performing arts are kind of in their major for the 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, media visual arts. You guys experience everything freshman year, and then you kind of knock it down to the one that you really want.
Yeah, so I should have looked at the context clues for that one. I probably could have figured it out if I looked at the major. But Mr. Gongora is right. If you're in PA, then yeah, you're in PA for 4 years. You can request a change of major. Anybody can do that in the building, and then that would be available to you based on number of students in that major, recommendations, and your interest in that course area. So that's also an option, but you would have to choose that, and then it goes through the process. So anyone who did choose to either double major or change your major, Mr. Rob will send you a form, and on that form, you'll have to fill out some basic information, why you want to change your major, what you're looking to do later on in life. Is this a career change that you're looking at? You're changing because of a possible career. All those things are options for you. And I think that's basically it, right? Anything else?
Yeah, no, the only other question was some general stuff that we don't really have answers to. There's a question about what September is going to look like with hybrid classes, and that's a lot of, that's going to come a lot from the state as opposed to stuff that we would decide in school. Nicer weather, can the kids go outside to eat or have classes like that? And I think that's I think they go outside now. I'm not sure. I'd never get down to the cafeteria for lunch to check it out, so I didn't know. And it was cold this week anyway, so I don't know if anybody went outside or wanted to go outside. But I'm sure that as it gets nicer, that kids are going to want outside. Teachers have the option to go teach their class outside if they're able to do it, but that's up to the individual teacher. So things like that are going on in the building already. There was nothing really else on the form here, unless you had something else. I guess
one question came in from Roman. Roman, in terms of the busing schedule, if you go on the district website right now, there's our bus schedule is up there, so you can look. But again, that's subject to change based on, every year they give they basically figure out how many students will be getting on at each stop, and that is all subject to change. So at least you'll have an idea of what that looks like this year, but that is on the district website. And if you have any questions besides that, feel free to email me and I can point you in the right direction, send you that bus schedule right now. Tony, the other question was, if you remember back to Ayla's question from the last podcast, she asked about the dance rehearsal class. So right. After that, what I realized is that it was on the senior form, it wasn't on the junior form. So what we did is Mr. Ra was able to put it back on the junior form and emailed all junior majors. So if let's take each major at a time. So one at a time. The dance majors. If you're a dance major, since you don't take phys ed sophomore, junior, and senior year, we put everybody into the dance rehearsal course. I believe we're calling it Dance Tech. Okay, so you've all been registered into that course. For drama, musical theater, and music and audio tech, you would have to go onto the form and select that elective on your registration portal. Again, the registration portal is still open. So for any rising sophomore, junior, or senior, you can still register for courses. Even if you submitted yours, you can go back in, make changes, and then resubmit through that registration portal. It's still available to you until Monday. Monday is when it's going to close. All right. So I think that answers A-list question from the last time. Again, last time on the podcast, I said that it was open for juniors and seniors. It ended up not being open for juniors. I didn't know that until after we went back and followed up. But again, that's why the communication is important. If you guys tell me that there's an issue with something, we will follow up and get an answer. And then, Tony, we have one more question.
Right, from Tanya, for incoming freshmen, I don't believe they have any choices they need to make, since their major is decided by what we accepted them as, and most of their schedule is set already, unless I'm wrong about that.
No, the only class I guess they do get to select would be foreign language. So there are some students that are taking foreign language in elementary school, and if they're doing that, they can, test out into maybe Spanish 2, 3, 4, etc., based on your previous Spanish, Italian experiences. But other than that, your courses are pretty much set in stone.
So do they have to do anything? Do they have to fill anything out, or it's just when we register them, it takes care of itself?
Usually we do that at the orientation, since we're kind of doing virtual orientation. Last year we did it in September. We probably should try to do that over the summer. So if there is an orientation over the summer, as Dr. G and Ms. Young mentioned before, then maybe we could do it at that point. But I'll follow up on that. I'll make a note of it and follow up on that for foreign language. And then the other course that you don't really get to select it, but it is up in the air, is Algebra One Geometry. It's based on what you send us on your transcript. If you got credit for Algebra One, then you'll be put into geometry. If you didn't get credit for Algebra One, then you'll be put in Algebra One. But that's really the only two classes that could go either way, Tony.
Right.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right.
The scope and sequence, again, Mr. Gongora can throw that back into the show notes.
Put it up again. Yeah.
And so we'll do both scope and sequence for MVA and PA. We'll put the Google form in the show notes also. So if you have a question, you could ask a question. And then I guess, Tony, the other thing we should put is about dress code. It is getting nights out there, although this week it was a little chilly. But as the weather gets nicer, the dress code is violated a little bit more often. So everybody should just be aware of the dress code. I see there's another question in there.
Yeah, Spanish as an option too, or test out of that. I'm not sure.
So again, it all depends on what grade you're going into. So if there are some students that come into the building and take Spanish 3 as freshmen because you've graded into it. There are some students that take Spanish 2 as a freshman, so you're taking Spanish 3 as a sophomore. If it's a requirement and it's a core course, Dr. G has not really allowed students to take a core course using option 2. Okay, so that's why I want to talk to him also about that world history, because that would be the same situation. Now, if you've come into the building in freshman year, you took Spanish 1, sophomore year, you took Spanish 2, board policy is you need 2 years of a foreign language. Okay, that's our board policy. So junior year, if you wanted to take Spanish 3, that would be an option. You could do that option 2 if you chose another elective in the building. So yeah, as an elective junior year, you could do that if you wanted to choose another elective from the building. Option 2 would be an option. Because again, it's no longer a core course for you. All right, good question.
All right. So this was a rough start, but we managed to get everybody on and have hopefully answer a bunch of questions about the end of the year, summer, and some registration. So we will be back another episode in a few weeks, and we'll see everybody at school if you're there. If not, everyone have a good day.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.